Hi, my name is Greg Canty, and I'd like to welcome you to the Win Happy podcast. I love chatting to people from all walks of life about their lives and their careers, about the choices they make along the way to pursue their happiness, and what winning actually means to them. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I do. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the second part of my conversation with author, restaurateur, healer and teacher David Ellis. In this episode, David explains why he could hear the voices that no one else could hear and the changes that this brought to his life. He chats about his spiritual journey, his healing work and that of the Atlantis Institute, and he also has a very honest conversation about the challenges of living as part of a gay couple in a world where acceptance is often just polite lip service to an inclusive idea. Let's hear from David.
So I was attending a counsellor at the time. His name was Frank. And I rang Frank and I said, Frank, I need to talk to you. I explained to him what was going on. And he says, why do you think that's nuts? I said, I'm hearing fucking voices. I'm hearing people having showers. Nobody else is hearing them. I can feel somebody is beside me and there's nobody here. And he said, but maybe there is somebody beside you. He said, maybe you're not nuts. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm paying this man too much money now. He's not giving me the right answers. So I said, okay, Frank, thanks. I will come and see you whenever. I went home early that day, parked the car on the drive, putting the key in the door, and I could feel the energy at the door. And I couldn't get the key. My hand was shaking so much I couldn't get the key in the door. Eventually I got in and got the dog. We went into the living room. We had double doors in the living room. I opened the double doors. I got the dog's lead, which I never do, and I chained him to my wrist so he couldn't run away. And I slept downstairs in the living room. And every now and again, he would get up and he'd stand looking up the stairs and all his hairs would hackle up on the back of his neck, which meant that I was even more terrified. So I said, I don't know what I'm going to do now. So then I remembered I went to a lady to have reflexology and she would talk to me about spirituality. And in my head, when she was doing my feet, all I wanted her to do was rub my feet, but she was talking about spirituality. And I'd be like, just rub my feet, Sarah, just forget about it. So I rang her and I said, can you give me the number of that lady? There was a lady called Joanna. So I rang Joanna and I said, I need help. This is what's happening. And she said, okay, I will check in tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock. I said, okay, what do I do in the meantime? She said, pray. I was like, okay. No, I hadn't eaten for days. This was beyond. So I'm sitting in the kitchen at 11 o'clock. The phone rings. I nearly pass out with fright. I answer the phone. Joanne is on the phone. She says, light candles, sit at the table and continue to pray. And if you hear noises around the place, just sit there, just relax. Well, I'm thinking, relax, okay. This is going to be a challenge. So she said, I will ring you back when it's done. So I'm sitting there and I hear noises upstairs. Then I hear the presses start to rattle around me. The dog is a golden Labrador. He's not a pup, right? He wants to be on my lap. And he makes every effort to be on my lap. And I don't mind that because at least if he's on my lap, it felt protected. So that was okay. We did that. This went on for about a half an hour, and then suddenly there was this amazing peace in the room. It was beyond anything I've ever experienced. It was magnificent. And I knew whatever it was gone. The phone rang. I wasn't frightened. Joan answered. And she said, no. She says, I have it sorted for you. I said, great. Tell me all about it. So she said, that was a nun. A nun came to visit you. She had fallen down the stairs, broken her neck, and her only way of being able to connect with you was through your neck. That was why she went for your neck. I said, yeah. But why did she want to connect with me? She said, because she saw that you could show her the way home. Now, she said, I've shown her the way home. She's gone home. But she saw that you could show her the way. I said, but I couldn't show anybody anyway. She said, but you did, because you rang me. So now she's gone home. And I said, okay. I said, this is way too much for me to handle. I said, you do know I'm a businessman, Joanna. And she says, yeah, I do. She says, but this is a new calling for you. And she said, and it's up to you whether you want to accept the challenge. And I said, well, what is the challenge? And she said, your guides want to know, do you want to do more of this work? I was like, guides, work? What the fuck? I said, no, I don't. And she said, I want you to think about it. Rather than say no, I want you to think about it. And she said, and I'll put it into perspective for you. She said, imagine in the world, she said, we have another world where people die and they can't find their way home, home being to the light. So they can't find the way. So they see somebody on the planet that can show them the way, and they come to you looking for help. I said, yeah, it all sounds lovely, but I know. And she said, I'll ring you back tomorrow. That was grand. We had a lovely evening, the dog and myself, no problems. And I went to bed and I thought about what she said. And all that I kept on thinking was, what if that was my dad, lost in the in-between, not able to find his way home? And he saw somebody like me and I said, no. How would I feel? So I made up my mind. I said I would ring her, and I rang her the following day and I said, I will do this work, provided you give me a guarantee that I do not have demons visiting me. No guarantees. She said, you get what you get. I said, okay, look, we'll see how it goes. And that's where it all began. I began to realize that there was so much more involved in the world than my meagerly little empire of restaurants and hotels and my fancy cars and my lovely suits. There was so much more involved. And I wanted to learn more. So I began doing courses in various different metaphysical healings, crystal, color. And the more I learned, the more I realized that I didn't know anything. And the more I didn't know anything, the more I learned more. And it just spun out of control then.
So did the world become a better place because of that?
It's a very good question. All I can tell you is that my world became a better place.
Yeah. Okay.
For sharing the light that I am. And if everybody was able to share the light that they were, the world would be a better place.
Were you close to your father?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
But he didn't know I was gay.
And is that something that you wished you had shared with him, or you wish someone else had said it?
Well, I went to a tarot card reader one day, only about 10 years ago. This woman didn't know me from Adam. I didn't know her. Somebody suggested I went, and I had this feeling that I needed to go. I arrived in, and she said to me, your dad is with you. I was like, okay. So we sat down, and she said, your dad has something to tell you. I said, go on. I'm skeptical initially because, and I never give anything away. She said, he wanted to say that he's so sorry, that he knew who you were all your life, but he didn't know how to tell you how hard the world was going to be for you. So he didn't know how to say it. I burst out crying because...
I can imagine.
This woman is telling me something that she couldn't possibly have known. And of course, left me knowing that my dad always knew, but he just didn't know. He didn't know how to prepare me. That's what she said. He just doesn't know how to prepare you.
Yeah.
And he's sorry. Because being gay, leaving out everything else in my life, being gay is not easy, Greg. In this world, being different is not easy.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'll look for your permission in a way to ask the question. Well, the permission is we can take it out, we can delete it after. And I asked a similar question of two guests that I had on the podcast, two black guests. It was after all of the George Floyd conversation and everything that went down about that. And I became very comfortable with these two particular guests on the podcast. And if I ever tell anyone after that I actually asked them this question, they're like, oh, Christ to God. How in the name of God did you ask that question? Jesus Almighty, you shouldn't have. That was a shocking question to ask them. Would you prefer not to be gay?
I have a young client at the moment. He's 15 and he's struggling with his homosexuality. Outwardly, he tells the world, I'm okay with this. Inwardly, he's broken. He's crushed. My job in this particular case is to be able to help him to put all the little pieces together to be able to accept what the world is like and accept who he is. In a roundabout way, that's the same answer for me. If I was given the journey again and said, you can take the blue tablet or the red tablet, the blue tablet's gay and the red tablet's straight, I would pick straight. Straight is easier. It's an easier process. It's an easier journey. The gay journey is difficult. It's filled with pain and suffering and hardship. And what makes it even worse is the level of homophobia that's in the world is at extraordinarily high heights. People don't realize that because now we live in a world where, oh yeah, everything is acceptable, everything is acceptable. Everything is not acceptable. It's a word, acceptable. It's not a feeling. The people who say everything is acceptable are not accepting. The bitterness and the hatred that are in people's minds it's mind-blowing, Greg. It's just mind-blowing and heartbreaking.
And we've gone backwards, I think, in recent times, haven't we?
We've gone backwards in the guise of going forwards. In other words, we say it's all okay, but actually it's not. People don't feel it's okay. I mean, we live in a very small neighborhood here, and some of the neighbors, most of the neighbors here actually, frown upon us because we're a gay couple. Everybody else is straight. We're a gay couple. They frown upon us.
You don't get the invite to dinner, so do you?
No. Absolutely not. We're a pair of faggots. Why would they? But they say it's all okay.
Yeah, exactly. We're very accepting of it. Sure, don't we say hello to those two boys in the morning?
Exactly. Yeah. And so this is the bit of work that I'm doing with this young lad for him to be able to know that the world is already against him and still have enough confidence to rise above that. And my past and all that I've done in my past and my success, my business success and my holistic approach and its success has got me to a point where I'm able to cope with it, but it hurts. It really hurts. I remember when there was a vote in Ireland for the gay referendum, and I was particularly close with my nephew and his wife. And on the day of the result, it transpired that the vote was passed by a huge majority. But there were 750,000 people in Ireland that didn't think that I was equal to them. And that hurt me. And I said it to my nephew and his wife. We were passing this house. This is back in 2014, I think, 2015, 2016. And he said to me, but David, you're not equal to us. And I nearly fell off the chair.
Oh, dear.
I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you can't have kids. I said, the last time that I kind of was aware, I said that you had all the bits of a man. Not the bits of a woman. I said, so if anybody is not equal here, it's the woman that's not equal. And yet she is more than equal. So we left really upset.
It's like a moment of truth in a way, isn't it?
Well, it was, and what it was more like a microcosm of the macrocosm. And that is the ethos which we are experiencing today.
That's awful. That's really awful. I'm sorry my friend has to carry something that I don't carry, and I don't have to carry or contemplate. Yeah.
In fairness, as I said, I built my life to be strong in terms of my business ethos is strong. My core principles, which are honor and integrity, these are strong tenets within me. I built myself on the spaces so that I couldn't be crippled by being gay, because if I didn't have those, Greg, I would be crippled in the world.
I actually saw that on your website, and the exact statement or the exact sentence is, if I have no honor or integrity, then I have nothing.
Correct. And money means nothing. When our character was gehuffling around with the credit cards and EPOS system, he made a statement to say that the company didn't lose any money. And we said the company lost more than money. The company lost honor, integrity, and trust, because you breached the customer's trust.
And I wonder, in all honesty, a bit like that experience that I shared with you, are there a bunch of customers going around saying, let me tell you what happened. I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to complain. I didn't want to get anyone fired, but this is what happened to me in that place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Sour grapes, as we were saying. When you were talking about your dad, and this is something, well, my dad passed away 7 years ago. As a young lad, I always contemplated, I loved my parents, and I was always nervous about the day when I thought they would leave this earth and whether I would cope. Mum is still alive, thank God, 90, she was 90 this year, and absolutely flying it.
Greg, you're lucky to have her.
Dad was a big, strong man, very athletic. He was in the army, he loved his sports. And it was really surprising what happened to him. It was awful to see him eroding. And he eroded very, very quickly because he was so strong and everything. And I believe, and I'm not sure if I believed beforehand, but I came to the conclusion that no one actually leaves, that they actually live on inside you. And that gave me an awful lot of comfort that Dad isn't gone. And I think not only does he live inside me, but he lives inside all of the family members, all of his friends, all of his pals. Everyone you have an experience with, you leave a little bit of you with them. So no one actually ever leaves. Have I gone cuckoo?
No, you're absolutely correct. You're correct. I mean, it's the ethos of energy, Greg. Energy can't be destroyed. It can't be created or destroyed. It is what it is. It is, for example, it's 100%. You can't take 10% away. It will always be 100%. That 100% may fluctuate between dark and light, but the energy is always the same. And we are just energetic beings.
So your career changed then as a result of this, and the nature of your work changed. So now you're doing a lot of one-to-one, will I call it counselling? Would that be the right word, or healing? Or
I started off doing a one-on-one healing, holistic healing. And the more I was doing holistic healing, the more I realized that I needed to learn more about what the mind was doing. Because I couldn't put together a program for somebody if I didn't understand what all of the pieces of the mind, body, and spirit were doing. So I thought, okay, I'll do hypnosis because that will give me a good idea. So I did hypnosis, and it was great for a little while. And then I realized, that's not quite it. And then I did CBT, which is all the craze now, but actually it's not really that good.
What is CBT?
Cognitive behavioral therapy. It's used quite a lot with people with ADHD and OCD, But it's like hypnosis or NLP. It's a Band-Aid. If you really want to get into healings, working and healing self and others, it requires taking off the bandage. It requires digging out and scooping out and feeling the pain and then forgiving and letting it go. So I realized that so even though I had CBT, I had NLP, I had hypnosis, I said, okay, I'm going to have to do a course in counseling in order to be able to put the whole lot together. So I did that, and it gave me a bigger toolbox to be able to work with. But the core work that I was always doing was always spiritual. So it always was surrounded by a spiritual journey, a spiritual essence. People would say to me, oh, I want to come because I want to give up cigarettes. And I would go, well, I don't do that. I don't do that. If you want to give up drugs, I will help you, but giving up cigarettes, no, I don't do that. And they would have to agree that we looked at everything from a mind, body, and spirit point of view, not just the mind or not just the body. And the results are phenomenal. So when you work with people on a mind, body, and spirit basis, if they want to, and it's a big if they really want to heal, the results are quite spectacular.
And am I right then in understanding that at the Atlantis Institute, that's you teaching other people to do what you can do?
Yes.
Okay. So you can reach more people in a way. Was that the motivation for it, or?
That was the thought, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for anyone listening, if they are interested in getting into that world, one, can anybody do it? And two, if they can, what can they do by signing up for one of your courses?
So, for example, if we take color therapy, as with all therapies, they're tools in the toolbox. That's all they are. It's like a doctor's bag. They're tools in a toolbox. You use the tools, and you never stop learning. So if somebody wants to do a course and they feel that if they do a 12-month course, that they will know all they need to know, then don't sign up for the course, because we will never know all that we need to know. Okay, I'm doing this for 20 odd years and I still don't know. So every client that I engage with, every student I engage with, I learn more, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude every single time that I sign up for a new student and I learn more. And I have some amazing students from all over the world, and they can take as long as they want to do the course, but it's very, very personal. So it's like doing a one-on-one counseling session rather, whilst they're learning to do this work. And so some of the people that I've worked with, I just know are going to be just absolutely amazing people to help others.
So can anyone do it?
Yes.
Okay. You don't have to be tuned in a particular way or anything like that?
No. The big key is want. I want to help others. And it's not the word I want. It's the feeling I want.
Is that all done online, or how does it work?
It's all done online, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I went on the website. I saw aura and chakra system.
Yeah.
That's a particular discipline, is it? Or how does that go?
Well, it is the basis of everything. It's the basis it's the basis of psychology. It's the basis of any therapy that you do. It's the basis of Reiki. It's the basis of everything, because it is the anatomy of the electromagnetic human system. If we understand how it works, then we can go about trying to heal that. A prime example, in a very short nutshell, if somebody presents to you acting like an adolescent who are 40 years of age, you immediately can deduce that they're stuck in their sacral chakra, which is the second chakra up. And something within their life back in that age group, 0 to 7 to 14, has got jammed. Trauma, pain, suffering, hurt, whatever. Something has stopped them evolving through their life. At 40 years of age, you should be well past tantrums. You should be well past being an adolescent.
I know of a president who hasn't got past that stage yet.
Yes, indeed. Don't we all?
I heard you talking about colour therapy. Crystal therapy is interesting because I think that was what you have a huge interest in crystals, don't you, in particular?
Yeah, I mean, crystals have an energy within themselves. The short ethos and how they work is they come in contact with our physical body or our energetic body. Energetic body is the electromagnetic system, which science has now established is real, which we call the aura. So I place a crystal within I mean, I have one on my desk here. So I place a crystal within my auric field, and the energy of the crystal is going to work along with the energy systems of the body in terms of healing.
I've got a pal who, I met her through my cousin, and she's very interested in animals. She does a lot of healing with animals. She says animals talk the whole time. You know, and you need to tell them that you're going out for a while and tell them how long. They will understand it. But she does healing with them, and she says she can do that remotely. If you send her a picture of your dog, your pet, whatever, and if she can see a very, very clear image of their face, she can talk to them and heal them. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, I've got a little buddy behind me.
Yes, I've noticed.
Yeah, who isn't very well at all at the moment.
Oh.
Just while we were chatting, he's breaking my heart, David. I shouldn't even be saying this in front of him, but he hasn't been inclined to eat, and anything he does eat
comes out.
We had a few good days with him now last week, but he's just a bit off now today. Deirdre isn't around today, and I wonder, is that bothering him? Is that upsetting him? And he just isn't quite right. But and she talks to him, and she tells me how he's doing. And on one occasion, she said if you could get 2 particular crystals for him, that they would help him. Do you buy into that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think it's wonderful that the woman has that gift. Some people have that gift for animals. Some people have it for humans. Some people are clairvoyant. Some people are clairsentient. I'm clairsentient. I sense. I don't see. Although I do see sometimes, but primarily I'd be clairsentient. Distant healing, absolutely. I used to do it quite a lot. Not so much anymore. And crystals, there is no question in my mind. I would have clients, and I would say to them, I need to put a little prescription of crystals together for you. And I would go away, do a meditation, come out of my meditation and go, they need this, 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 and this.
Yeah, okay. You also mentioned on your website heartfulness.
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means operating from your heart. In other words, in a very easy, short way of answering that question, I look at the news. How do I identify whether the news is real or whether it's fake? So I identify by closing my mind and going into my heart and feeling whether it's real or fake. So when I meet people, I don't think that they're nice or I don't think that they look pretty. I feel, how do they feel? I'm feeling how they feel when I shake their hand. And in that instant, I know whether they're for me or they're not for me. Running a business from the heart ain't easy. Right.
But it needs to be right for you, doesn't it? I think that's the one thing I do get from that conversation with you.
No, it does. And so I live my life from a very heartful place. I don't think about very much, to be honest. I feel everything. I look at the news. I look at Mr. Trump, and I feel what I see. And therefore I'm able to generate what it is that is going on. What is the totality of the picture?
That experience that you had after your dad passed, you were saying to me that you're tuned into the spirit world in some way, and that colleague that you called, she identified that in you, and it's like a responsibility that she left with you if you chose to take it. I remember you explaining to me that a lot of us have that naturally, and that often would be when we're very, very young.
We all have that, Greg, every one of us. We live in a world where it seems that the ethos of education is to program us out of anything other than being a drone. So when we're kids, we have imaginary play friends. I'm sure you had when you were a kid. I had when I was a kid, and they were very real. When you're kids, kids play games. They're very happy, running around on a broomstick thinking it's a horse. They're very absolutely certain that it's a horse. There's no question in their mind it's not. Parents feel that they have this responsibility to knock that out of the kids, to make them responsible. This is a problem because we seem to knock the irresponsibility and that whole imagination out of kids so early in life that they end up being programmed and trained to follow what everybody wants them to follow. And following your imaginary friend is not the place to go. Whereas when you get to our age, you realize, oh shit, if I only had followed my imaginary friend all my life would have been much, much better. And so would everybody else's life around us. But we don't know that. And our parents don't know that when they're teaching us not to. Now, your parents, my parents, our parents allowed us that latitude. Parents today don't. It's not allowed. You're not allowed to have an imaginary friend. You have to be responsible. Kids are kids. Kids are not responsible, and nor should they be responsible. And we all have that gift, and then that gift is snuffed out of us. And in some people, the gift is so strong that irrespective of all the programming, it just keeps on coming back.
So that imaginary child I'm chatting away with, my friend, when I'm down on the floor playing my dinkies and there's someone else playing with me, that in many cases is another spirit there.
It's another being, yes.
And I think that's the part that I share with people when I give them the example of your story. And it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's a scary thought when you have a little child that there could be little gremlins.
Yeah, it is. And, why do we have the world in the mess that we have it in at the moment? There's only one thing: fear. People are afraid. They're afraid of what's not normal, what's not considered normal. Being gay is not normal. It's not considered normal. Having imaginary friends is not considered normal. So there's a fear element that, comes about when people are presented with something that is not in the norm.
And fear is a huge currency that you see everyone using.
Oh, God. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's probably the most powerful one. During COVID, in many respects, fear was the currency that they used to get people to behave.
Yeah. And
it did achieve that, for the most part. But the problem in many cases is that fear stayed with people. And now they're still petrified when they're in company and all that kind of thing. Obviously to varying levels, and over time, hopefully people will lose all of that. But I think that fear stayed with people a little bit too long. The move to Spain, when did that come about?
Do you remember that we had this horrendous snow in Ireland?
Yeah.
I think it was 2017. And Roy, my husband, was in Malaysia. He had gone to Malaysia and I was in Atlantis on my own. And I ended up being snowed in for 2 weeks. Now, when I say I was snowed in, I mean I was snowed in. Nobody believed me. Roy didn't believe me. He's in the sunshine and he's saying, don't be so silly. He said, go to the gate and see what's happening in the world. Now, the gate from our house, you were down in our house.
Yeah.
So
It was a beautiful place.
The gate was like, it was a minute and a half walk. So one day I decided I would get the dog and we would go to the gate, right? So I walked to the gate. It took me 45 minutes to get to the gate. And when I got to the gate, outside the gate was equally the same as inside the gate. And I just broke down crying because I realized that I was stuck. It was going to take me another 45 minutes to get back to the house. It didn't matter how I managed to do it. And I'm stuck. There's nobody here. I'm on my own. I had no water. The water had frozen. I had a drip of water coming in the center, so I was able to leave that dripping all night, and I ended up with a canister of water. We couldn't get out. We couldn't get in. We couldn't get anything. And when eventually it all thawed out and everything was back to normal, I said to Roy, I am never doing that again. I'm going to move to the sun. I am done with this country. I'm done with the weather. And so we started to look. And in 2018, we found a house that we liked. We put a deposit on it. We bought it off the plan. That is a mistake in Spain. We bought it off the plan. And in 2019, October 2019, we moved. We were only here 3 months when COVID arrived. So we never really got to experience what Spain was like until 2023.
And part of that is enjoying the local restaurants. And you have a little hobby now around restaurant, which is writing reviews.
Well, I now call them my story because I got posted on Facebook recently, several times, in fact, by all of the do-gooders on Facebook and the armchair warriors, because people don't like the truth, Craig. They much prefer you to tell a lie. So I would be very honest in my story. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. But people prefer you to say it's good, irrespective. So when I would post this and then I would share it on social media, I just got lambasted. And I just thought to myself, do you know what? I'm too old for this. I don't need this shit in my life. You know, I'm doing this as a hobby. Some people will benefit, some people won't. So I changed it to stories, not a review anymore. So I write these stories about restaurants, and not only restaurants, but if I meet a builder or if I meet there's a great story about the builder on my website. If I meet an electrician or whoever, I write stories about them.
Yeah. Is life good out there?
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, I still work and I work remotely. I still take on a couple of clients, but I don't charge for my clients. So people who are in trouble, I don't charge them. I spend hours and hours with them, but I don't charge them because I want to help. I want to help people. And if I can help, if I can add a little bit of light into their world, but then look at it's worth every ounce of energy to me. But life here is pretty special. I love it. And Roy loves it.
Yeah, amazing. What's happiness to you, David?
Happiness is waking up in the morning where the sky is blue and there's no great worry about what's going to happen, or do we have enough money to pay the mortgage, or it's more of a sense of, you know, I have enough. I don't need much more. And what I have is what I have, and I'm very grateful for it. So happiness for me, it really is rooted in gratitude.
And what does winning look like for you, if I put winning alongside with it?
Winning, that's an interesting one. Winning now, instantly when you say winning, I'm taking my builder to court and I want to win.
Yeah.
So that would be winning for me. But actually, what would be even better about that story would be to get him publicized to so many people that it would be better than winning in court.
Okay. And when I talk about winning, you've achieved a lot in your life and in your career. You're very clear about what gives you energy, and even if that's helping people without any financial reward or anything like that. But the things that give you satisfaction, yes, the things I want to achieve. Is there anything you want to achieve?
Yeah, I have 3 books written and published, and I have 5 books that I have not published, but they're half written. I really like to write them and finish them. And I would like to spend all my day, every day, writing articles that will help people, writing stories. Just that's all I want to do. I just want to write. I don't need to travel the world. I've done that. I don't need to own, the latest car, the best car, the biggest house. We have a beautiful home where we live. We have a beautiful car. We don't need any more. To spend time just writing would be, to me, that would be like, that's winning now. That's seriously winning.
Tell me about the books. What are the books?
But the books that I've written already are Cooking with the Shack Restaurant, the Flavors of Era, which is a book about the Irish cuisine, Mind to Heart Connection, which is obviously about the connection between the mind and heart. The ones that I have half written, well, actually, I have one finished called Opening My First Restaurant. And I haven't published it yet because I might need to change the name. I'm not sure whether that's what it's going to be called. But basically, it's the story of me opening my first restaurant, which is quite humorous and quite emotional. Color Psychology is a book that I have almost finished, not quite done yet. A Course in Crystal Therapy is another book. A Course in Color Therapy is another book. The alliance between psychology and the human electromagnetic field is another book. I'll get there.
My very last question for you. So, what was the toughest decision you ever had to make? And tell me a huge decision that you made that had silver lining at the end of it. That was a brilliant decision to make.
Buying the Shack Restaurant.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
What was there before you bought it?
The Shack Restaurant was the Shack Restaurant. It was owned by a client of mine who I had bailed out of trouble before, and they showed me no gratitude of bailing them out, which was incredibly hurtful at the time. They appeared on the Late Late Show, and the Gay Byrne at the time wanted to know how did they turn their restaurant around from the disaster that it was to the massive success it was now. Both of these men who owned the restaurant, one of the conditions I made when I went to help them was that they went away, left the restaurant, went up to Leitrim and lived, and wrote poetry or did whatever they wanted to do, but I didn't want to see them. And that's what they did. They got paid a wage every week. I did all the work. I got a peanuts of a fee. That was my own fault. My naivety that I believed that humanity would be kind enough to me at the end. It wasn't. They were on the Late Late Show. They were asked by the late Gay Byrne, how did they make it work? And they said, we retrenched. We came back in. He was a kitchen porter and I was a waiter, and we worked our butts off. And I just thought, okay, I'm out of here. Yeah. So the two brothers fell out. They had a big row. One brother bought the other brother out with his own money. I just thought it was hilariously funny. And the brother opened the Chicken Shack, it was called. And after 2 months, he was in trouble. He rang me up and he said, I have a problem. And I'm thinking, well, of course you have a problem. So I came on board. But the condition was, I don't want to be paid. I don't want any money. I'll clean up your mess I want 50% of the business. And in 6 months, you buy me out or I buy you out. So he thought that was a super deal. It was a good deal for both of us. He got a wage, I got nothing. I worked for 6 months, got it all sorted out. 6 months later, he came to me and he said, okay, I want you to buy me out. And I said, okay. I hadn't a penny. I said, okay. We agreed a price and I thought, okay, yeah, sure. It's easier to say yes. And then figure out where you get the money. And then out of the blue, this guy came to me, literally out of the blue, and he said, do you know any restaurants for sale? I want to invest in a restaurant. And I said, yep. I said, I know where you can buy 45% of a restaurant. Oh, he says, great. So he gave me the money. I bought your man out. Now I own 55%. He was a bit of a plonker, bless him. And about a year later, we didn't get on. I mean, our energies just didn't align. He rang me up one Sunday morning and he says to me, do you know where I am? And I said, I'm not a psychic. I don't know where you are. I didn't like him. And he says, I'm sitting in my restaurant. I said, oh, really? That's nice. And he said, and you're not here. I said, you're right. I'm not. I said, you weren't sitting in your restaurant last night at 11 o'clock. And I was. So I said, now I'm lying in my bed and you're in the restaurant. And he said, well, when I'm in this restaurant, I expect you to be here. And I said, well, that's tough. So I said, let's have a meeting on Monday. So on Monday, I came in and I said to him, I said, we're going to have a very quick meeting. I said, the ethos of the meeting is this. I own 55% of this restaurant. You own 45%. You don't have a say, so fuck off. And that was the end of it. I didn't speak to him again. And about 6 months later, my solicitor rang me. And he says to me, I have so-and-so in my office who needs to close a sale on a house and he hasn't got the money, but he owns 45% of the restaurant and he wants his money back. I said, does he think it's a fucking piggy bank that he can do this? And he said, look, he says, can you do it or can't you? And I said to him, sure. So I offered him less money than he invested because he needed it there and then. And I said, no, I'll drop it over to you in a bank draft. And that was it. Done.
Very good. It's a long road, David, isn't it?
Long road. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, I mean, it's had its ups and downs. Mostly it's been up. There's many times that I've wanted to leave the planet and my guides promised me that they said send something to keep me here. They didn't say what. But then Roy arrived, so then I knew what that was. And he kept me here we're together 23 years, 24 years. In the early days, he kept me here, otherwise I would have left. And my guides kept on telling me also that...
You mean gone?
Gone. Yeah.
Oh.
I've considered suicide many times, Craig. My life has not been easy, but life is not comparable to other people's lives. I don't believe that we can compare life for life.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Dermot Desmond would look at my life as being, peanuts, because I've earned peanuts by comparison. But for me, it's not about money.
Of course it isn't. And if that's your scorecard, if that's what winning looks like for you, well, that's fine. My winning looks very, very different to that, and I think yours absolutely is as well.
I mean, we need money, Greg. There's no doubt about it. But there's also a way of making sure that you have enough and everybody else has enough without being greedy.
Totally. It's about how you want to live, and maybe even more important is figuring out what that looks like is the first step. David, my friend, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks very much.
I knew it would be a beautiful conversation, and I'm glad you didn't make that decision. Yeah, I'm really glad you didn't. Thank you.
Well, now I'm glad I didn't too, because, I have a lovely life and my husband is an amazing man. He really is. I don't know. how he sticks me some of the time, but he's an amazing guy. And we have a lovely life together. So in the end, it worked out, you know.
Very good. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.